Talking about the real. Talk a real topics and all facts. Talk a real shit and you know that. That's a fact, Jim. Chat and chill. Yeah. Talking about the real. Talk a real topics and all that. Talk a real shit, you know that. That's a fact, Jim. Chat and chill. Talk about the real. Talk whatever you want, whenever you want. Whatever you want, whatever you want. Yeah. Chat and chill.
Intent and purpose of this episode was to have everybody on Chip Chat and Chill just go with you on your journey to surviving whatever you've gone through in life that life dealt you and how well you've persevered. Because I admire the same thing about the both of you, how strong you are. And like I said, Nyree, I've known, I think we met maybe a year or change ago in a mom group.
Yeah.
Now 2 mom groups. And
yeah. Also, maybe even 2 years. Maybe 3.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe 3 because I think I was pregnant with Zariah. I was 2017, I think. Yep. So
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you're an Aquarius too.
I am.
I knew it.
That's right.
There was just something, in the passage of, posting things here and there and replying and responding to certain things. I was like, we speak the same language. And Barb, I've known.
Everybody don't speak it.
Exactly. Exactly. We just get it. And Barb, I've known my whole entire life. I've known her whole adult life. But you guys have definitely come into this intersection of being amazing women. Not just because you survived things, but just because of the natural person that you are and what you are at your core. These are amazing mothers, chefs, creatives, intelligent women. I'd had to bring the both of you, and I hope that you'd be glad later on that you two have met today. And I just wanted to share a little bit of their story. You've gone through 2 separate things, but they're both great things now that you're on the other side. And I wanted to tell it from an angle where now that you have survived and you've gone through that, now what does survivorship look like for you and those that were able to support you through your journey? So Barb, if you want to share, feel free to let us know what your journey has been like.
Well, back in April, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I had a dimple in my breast probably sometime last year. And I didn't pay it any attention. I thought because I gained weight, lost weight, get dimples and spots. And so it had to be about maybe March, April of last year, I'm thinking. Fast forward to New Year's Eve of last year, I find a breast cancer flyer that someone had gave me. And I'm sitting on my bed and I'm reading the flyer, and it talks about different things to look for, when examining your breast. And when it said dimpling, I run into the bathroom and I'm like, hey, that's what that is? So I'm freaking out. I call my best friend in a panic. She's like, girl, there's nothing wrong with you. Relax. And I left it alone. 4 months later, on my birthday, April 6th, I asked my son's nurse, I have a special needs son, I asked his nurse to look at the dimple. She looks at it and then she looks at me. She's like, how long has it been there? And I'm like, I don't know. And she did like a quick exam and she just told me to call my doctor. The next day I did call the doctor and they give me a number for a radiology place, but due to COVID, they weren't doing any mammograms. They weren't doing anything. A few minutes later, I do get a call and a text from Yale Hospital's breast center. And they had made me an appointment already to get my mam. April 9th, I went to have my mammogram. I'm there for a couple of hours. I'm getting agitated because I'm never here this long. They took pictures like 3 times. So after they took all the pictures, I go in to have an ultrasound. During the ultrasound, she's counting and she's measuring. And I'm like, okay, what is she doing? So I'm trying to be nosy, trying to peek my head up and look over at the screen to see what's going on. The radiologist comes in and she says to me, I need you to come back for a biopsy. April 14th, I had my biopsy. And so I asked her, I said, can you tell when you take the sample out if it's positive? and from breast cancer. And she said, well, 90% of the time, yes. She said, if it's solid, then most likely it is breast cancer. So when I was done, I asked her, was my sample solid? And she said, yes, yours was solid. And I still didn't let that bother me. I didn't get worried. 3 days later, they did call me to say I was positive for breast cancer. Um, I had a meeting with a surgeon that Monday, the 20th of April, to talk about, what's the next step. Um, and at first, I guess she at first she did think I might have a lumpectomy, but come to find out, I had surgery May 7th, and I had a full mastectomy on my left breast. I had a pretty large tumor. They actually thought it was two, but it was just
Mm.
like kind of shaped like a dumbbell. And she also removed 21 lymph nodes from under my arm, and 19 of those were cancerous.
Mm.
Um, a week before I started chemo, my mom passed, which was very, very heartbreaking. I never told my mother that I was diagnosed. I didn't want her to worry about me. But just losing her at this time has been extremely hard. Um, Mentally, this whole experience has been hard.
Yeah.
Other than the physical, other than the emotional and financial and spiritual, mentally, I've had a hard time. Um, Losing my mother, that was a low blow.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm pressing and I'm pushing every day. I'm almost done with radiation. I'll be done Friday, thank God. Um, it's just been an experience. I've had to learn myself all over again, and it's important. And I admonish all women and men to please get mammograms. Please, I mean, I can't stress it enough. So many women are passing from this disease, and
Yeah.
there are even, more women now a younger age are being diagnosed with this disease.
Right.
Um, it's just, it's. I know in the beginning when I was sharing my journey, I had a couple young ladies tell me that they thanked me because they never had a mammogram, or they never thought about going to the doctors. I don't, I don't know if it's the fear of no, it's the fear of like, oh my God, are they going to tell me something bad? But I mean, this it's a matter of life and death,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Not to be so great, but it is what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Um, I think I shared with you guys before. There was a young lady. She was only 20. Within 7 weeks of her diagnosis of cervical cancer, she checked out, and it's sad because she didn't really get to live her life. And I have a genetic history of it as well. I've always had a feeling about getting them, not so much because, oh my gosh, it automatically means I'm going to be diagnosed with something, right? But on a more sort of thing, I've noticed women that have taken or gone through a mammogram, they tell me how uncomfortable it is. And that's a real sensitive area. So I'm thinking of the whole process of the procedure. I'm like, is it really that uncomfortable? I'm like over it. So your thought going into your mammogram, Barbara, was it as uncomfortable as you imagined it would be, or is it just not that bad, or how's your
I mean,
tolerance
I've
for
had them before.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, I just didn't get it done last year because my son um, had an emergency spine surgery where he was in the hospital for 3 weeks. So
Right.
it wasn't even a matter of, it was just a matter of I was just worn out. It was
Okay.
just last year was just exhausting with
Yeah.
Josiah. Um, Other than that, I don't have an issue with getting. I started getting them done when I turned 40.
Okay.
Um, so I didn't have an issue. It was just that
Okay.
I
Nyree,
just
have you
kept
picked
saying
up?
I gotta get it done.
Have I had a mammogram?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I have not. It's never that I've been afraid. I just I don't have any boobs, so I just thought there was nothing to smash in the machine to see.
Right.
But
Well,
it's not funny. It's
I
not
know.
funny. This is
Men get
serious.
them. They figure a way out to do it.
How in the world does a man get a mammogram?
I've always
How
wondered that, and they're at risk as well. But now that you said it out loud, I have always wondered that. Like, is it? I imagine they have to definitely rely on ultrasounds more than they do mammograms from men.
Yeah.
and now they
It's
have
certain.
Now they have 3D, so it's
Really?
getting better. You can
Wow.
get it
Is that the
3D. I
is
don't know if
that but
all
that's the
insurances.
the smash boob 3D?
Um, yeah, I think they have 3D mams now because a lot of women like me, when I had mines in 2018, I had to go back and get an ultrasound because I had very dense breast tissue.
Mm,
So now they're doing the more in 3D because women who have very dense breast tissue, you can't really see.
Yeah.
Like my oncologist said that
hmm
it could have been brewing, but because my breast tissue was dense, you can't really pick it up.
Wow.
Um, so and even there's the card that I received. It also said that like I had pain in my boob sometimes. Like, "Dang, my boob hurts." I'm like, what's going on?
Mm,
But I just brushed it off. And I didn't notice this until after. They said your breast can actually change in shape. And I didn't notice that until after. Because before I
mm,
had my mastectomy, I took a picture.
okay.
And when I took the picture of them, I'm like, oh my God, they really are two different shapes. And I can really
Mm.
tell
mm.
after looking at it that way, you know.
You take them for
But
granted
now
because they're
I'm
just
just
there
having a
every
hard time
day.
just looking at myself.
So
So it's
you
just,
made it through. So, and you're making it through, and you
yep.
don't look as bad as you feel. Trust me.
No,
Uh,
thank God. I'm glad my
so
hair's growing back.
I see you got the salt and pepper shaker going on at the top. I see.
Yes, yes. At first, I thought it was
So
ash, and
distinguished.
then I realized it was gray hair. I'm like, oh, okay.
But you know what?
Thank-
I didn't laugh because it was funny, but I laughed because at the beginning of your journey, when you decided to cut it all off, Barb always liked short hair anyway, Nyree. She was always fine.
Mhm.
She's the one in the circle group that would be like hair down to her tail, but always found a pair of scissors, always cutting her hair. So when you shaved it off, I was like, that was probably not really a whole huge part of the journey because you were
It
comfortable with a low
only
cut
thing
of
that
hair.
hurt me about that because when I let it grow, my hair ended up getting right here, and then it wasn't my choice. I had no
Yeah,
choice but to cut
yeah,
it. So that's what bothered me at first. It's like I wasn't cutting because I want to cut my hair. I had no choice but to cut it because I'm going like this. I'm sitting on my bed and I'm going like this, and my hair was just coming out.
yeah.
Mm.
So I told my daughter, I'm like, come on, let's go. She shaved the back, and I shaved the rest. But it was a little sensitive because I let it grow after having short hair for so long,
Yeah,
and then I had no choice but to shave it off. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna cut my hair today. No, either
yeah,
I shave it off or it's all gonna be on my pillow.
yeah.
But
Well, the beanie looks
only thing
good.
I started making jokes about it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But
The
I'm
beanie
I'm
looks
glad to
good.
get a little bit of. I'm gonna keep it short. I'm gonna keep it short. It's I didn't realize how it's just so easy. So I'm gonna just rock
I have
it
a
out for
friend
a
in the
little
industry.
while.
She wore a beanie for like 6 or 7 years, and now she plays back and forth with weave. But she's more comfortable with no or low cut.
Hmm.
So Nyree, would you like to share your story?
Sure. So my story is different in the effect that I think mine is more about personal confidence and self value. I was born to a black and white set of parents. I'm biracial. My parents divorced when I was probably about 4 or 5, and I was taken to Alabama where I lived with my dad. My dad
Okay.
raised me.
Okay.
Wonderful guy, my dad. He was literally the only man at the Girl Scout Mom and Me picnic when I was like
Oh, that's
9.
Aww.
He's an awesome
Sweet.
dad. He's
He rocks.
best dad ever.
Oh,
And you know, black men don't get enough. They don't get enough props for when they do it right. You know,
they don't.
um,
Mhm.
they don't. And he definitely is probably one of the best. So
That's right. You give him that man his flowers. That's right.
I'm gonna give him as long as I can. I am crazy about him.
Oh,
So he kind of raised me alone. I would go and visit my mom for only once a year. I would go in California and I would stay there for like a week or two. And it was a very, very different environment. My mother was living in a very affluent neighborhood. She was married
mm,
to a very, you know, well off Jewish attorney.
mm.
And, you know, I came visiting from Butler, Alabama, where it was extremely rural. And I grew up in like a Southern Baptist church where, you know, we had the fans and we had like devotion and
Oh yeah.
very, very old school. So it was just two very
Mhm.
different lives.
Two
It was
different
hard for
worlds.
me to, mhm. It was hard for me to kind of resolve that and figure out my place in there. And excuse me, as a child, I got teased a lot. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. Um, the black kids really didn't want to fool with me too much. They're, you know, how we are and within our own
Yeah.
system.
Mhm.
We are very, we're light skinned haters. So I didn't have a lot of friends from that side. And the white adults really weren't fooling with me too tough. My father actually had to sue the school system when I was a kid because they wouldn't let me into the Beta Club or the Honor Society, and I had the grades, but they just wouldn't let me in. So
Wow.
my father had
Wow.
to he had to sue them. He had to send me to school every day with like a report. I had to have the teachers sign off every single day that my behavior was okay, because what they would do is they would say that, you know, they would give me F's in conduct to try to bring my grades down and say, well, she's misbehaving. And he goes, well, no one said anything to me about this. So that's why he would start sending me with these behavior reports every day. And so when the behavior reports came back positive every day, but I still had the F or the D or the C on my report card for conduct, you know, my father got an attorney and he was like, this isn't happening. So, you know, he ended up getting me into the Beta Club and into the Honor Society. But I think that, you know, just all of that fighting and back and forth and staying in fights with kids and all that stuff just kind of had a huge effect on me and how I saw myself. Um, and so we got old. I got older. We moved to Birmingham. My father was engaged for some time with a woman who had been around since I was younger, and she was murdered. And after that, he just kind of stayed to himself. And
Mm,
I think I was just kind of rebellious and mad. And so I did a lot of running away from home. I did a lot of being in the streets and, you know, getting myself in trouble and picking up the phone and being like, Dad, will you come get me? And there's never a time he didn't show up. I mean, never.
mm.
Um, I got through high school magically, some kind of way. And I graduated and got a full scholarship to Alabama State University. And so I went to Alabama State, and in my very first semester, I went and got pregnant. And I had to sit out for a semester to have the baby. I was very sick. I almost died actually having her. I had
Oh,
preeclampsia. It was awful.
Oh man.
And,
oh wow.
and after she was born, I went back to school. I took her with me. I got an apartment. I worked, you know, I focused. And, you know, I did graduate in the top 6% of my class. I graduated cum laude with a computer information systems degree.
I know that's right.
And even though I did all of that, I still was struggling a lot with, I guess, my identity and who I was. And I met this guy who, you know, seemed to be, he was so charming and he had, you know, he had the swag that we all go for, that dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just in the end, I was very young. I was 20 in my 20s and he was, you know, almost 30. And he sort of just started taking advantage of me. And I don't think I really noticed. He would prey on my insecurities. Because I was raised by my dad, I was always questioning my femininity, and he would always point out all these things I was doing that wasn't feminine. And I think I had just garnered so much behavior from my father, not because I had an idea of gender roles, but just because I've been with my dad all the time. I was raised by my dad. Everything he did, I was just like, wow, I want to be a responsible adult like my dad. It was never, oh, I want to be manly. You know, I never even considered that stuff. And he was just, my ex-husband was just really adept on picking up on nuances in your behavior that he could just kind of latch onto that and just use it as a weapon constantly. And, because I had this desire to be responsible and all that, I was working 2 and 3 jobs, and my ex-husband wasn't working, and he wasn't paying bills, and he was playing video games, and, I'm getting pregnant and having more kids, and nothing's changing. We're fighting all the time. It's just this toxic environment, just a very narcissistic person who wasn't happy with his own life and his own accomplishments. And so he would just constantly tear me down and constantly try to make sure that I was questioning, myself. And I literally handed him the keys to drive me as the car around.
Wow.
And I did that for about 11 years until, I kind of, I had a hairdresser who would talk to me about how, when she was growing up, her mom was staying in this really horrible relationship for the kids, and how she didn't understand how her mom thought that being so miserable was good for the kids. And I think it just kind of, the dots connected for me. And when that happened, I immediately started kind of reassessing what I had been doing. I had told myself for the longest amount of time that, accepting less was okay, and not being happy was okay, because that was a sacrifice I was willing to make for my kids, so that they would have a family. I didn't want to be like my parents. I didn't want to give up and have a divorce. And, but I just bought into this idea that I was doing them a service by staying with someone who didn't value me at all. And I had made excuses over the years and just justified not being valued. I think I mentioned, holidays, Christmas, birthday, Mother's Day, all these different holidays would come and go, and he barely would acknowledge me. And he would make me feel like, I had bought into commercialism, and, I just was being excessive and money hungry and all this other stuff, by wanting that attention, or that I just, I was comparing myself to people on social media, and that I needed to be, more centered on, our family. There was just always a reason for me not to, I guess, be important. And I settled for that. And I ended up getting out of the marriage a couple of years ago. It was very, very difficult, very painful. It was hard for all of us, but I stayed the course. I got out of it. And every single day, I am just walking around thrilled about absolutely nothing. I don't think I wake up in a bad mood ever. Like, literally, I'm just in a good mood. I mean, I can come into my office, and if I feel like moving a chair to the other side of the room, by God, I'm going to do it. And guess what? Nobody's mad at me. Nobody's upset about it. You think that that's such a trivial, silly thing, right? But it's almost like being locked away in a jail. You don't appreciate the sunshine until you haven't had it for however long you've been locked away. So with that in mind, I as much as I am glad to be away from my ex-husband and his mental abuse, I wouldn't change any of it. I would go through it again if I had to be who I am and to be able to provide what I do for my kids. We have a great life. They are everything to me, and I think I've made the best decision I could have for them.
I'm so excited about that.
Awesome.
And when you shared your photos online, I literally burst out into tears just to see, because the happiness in you on the inside just oozes through that whole photo shoot. And because you were already able to share a little bit here and there in the mom groups that we're in together, I already knew. I was like, I know what's up. So to see that,
Girl,
for you to feel that, because I know as everyday women, as mothers, being a Black woman in America, that's a whole episode in itself. Being depreciated, us depreciating ourselves, or even just down the things that, and the simple life pleasures that we're not so much entitled to, but so much that we deserve. And the things that we tell ourselves we should like make small of or make less of. No, we can't do that, because when you're in the stimulus or when you're in the circumstance, you're trying to get through it, that survival mentality tells you that you're undeserving of things. That mentality tells you you are less than, and it tells you that this is it. This is as good as it gets, and all of that is lies. And I
It
think
is
that's
lies.
definitely what the both of you have in common. You actually have more in common than you think. Um, so just being able to be on the other side of all of that and have such a great support system as you have shared, I commend you for just going through and getting through the best way that you can. Each of you have your own unique story and your own unique lane, but the champion in you is what I definitely admire. And I hope that this is a great space for you to feel honored, because I'm honored that you even spent your time with me today. Um, you've talked about your support system. What do you think has been the biggest positive self-esteem booster that you've encountered so far?
Mm. Um, just I guess um, when as in me sharing my journey, just the feedback I've gotten from so many people. Their support, their prayers, their love, um, encouragement. Um, because it's hard. I
Yeah,
mean, it, I'm not. My life has changed forever. You
yeah.
know, I'm not going to look the same. I don't look the same anymore.
Mhm.
Um, like I had to find strength within myself for me this time. But you know, I get so much encouragement from so many people every day. Um, there actually were a few people that didn't know. Um, they just thought I'd like shave my head off just to shave it off. It's like, you're always doing something great, doing something
Mhm.
different with your hair. I
Mhm.
just thought it was just a style.
Right.
Um, and they're like, you're rocking that.
Right.
I was at the bank one day and I'm sitting in the car and this lady walks by. She's like, I love it. You're rocking that hat. You're rocking it. And I was just like, thank you. And then I ended up telling her what was going on. She's like, girl, it don't even matter because you look amazing. Um, and that helps me because sometimes I don't see that when I look at myself.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm different. I mean, I look different now to me.
Mhm.
Um, like I have a hard time looking at myself in the mirror um, because I'm lopsided. Um, people say, well, you're should be happy to be alive. Yes, I'm happy to be alive. That's no question. But still, it's it's different when I look at myself now,
That's
and that's
actually,
still
Right.
something I have to get used to.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually a sub part of the question I wanted to ask as well, because I know people think with their good intentions most of the time that they're being helpful. Some of the time they're not, even though it may be subconscious, and sometimes the thought comes out of their mouth before they can catch it. For the both of you, do you think there are some things you want to tell people to help them help others or be more helpful to others rather than, I guess, cri- critical or not so much judgmental, but that would actually help you rather than take a poke at your self
Just be
esteem?
more sensitive.
Yeah, yeah,
Be more sensitive with your words. Like
yeah,
I've heard, oh, it's only hair. It's gonna grow back. Yes,
yeah,
it's hair, and yes, it will grow back. But it wasn't my choice to shave my head.
yeah,
I had to because it was
yeah,
coming out. I mean, I'm
yeah.
pulling my hair out. It's I when I very first, because my stylist she did it in stages. When she first cut my hair, I cried.
Hmm.
I didn't cut my hair because I wanted to. I had no choice in the matter. So that's a total different. It's totally different for me.
Hmm.
I would chop my hair off in a minute, but this time I had to because I had no choice. And it's a different experience doing something that you want to that versus doing something because you have no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
You know,
That'd
when
be
I
nice.
noticed the curls on my pillow, I'm like, oh, here we go. It's time.
That was your time. Yeah, that was the signal. Like, let's go. As opposed to
Hmm.
just letting it just be this dramatic
Yeah.
process over time. I get it.
Hmm.
Nyree?
Um, I think that the biggest confidence booster for me has been, I think it's twofold. One is, I ended up getting into a different relationship, but that relationship and that person and the way that they treat me and the way that they adore me
Yeah.
is a type of love that I know I've never experienced before. It's so selfless. It's almost like a love you have for your child. It's such a
Hmm.
selfless love.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that has
Hmm.
been a huge confidence booster for me, to know that somebody has the ability to love me like that. I used to really think that love like that is just like made up TV stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at 30 years old, I watch love stories on TV and just be like, oh God, this is so unrealistic. Like I didn't believe it was possible. Um, so I think experiencing that, just the selflessness, just the constant, what can I do? How can I add to you instead of take away, has been huge. And I think another confidence booster for me is just the success of my children, not necessarily translating to, oh my gosh, they're all, top of their class and,
Right.
they're the most beautiful and all that. But I just think that their happiness, they are
Yeah.
just such positive, happy kids. Like I can't even bring them down. I try, I try, I can't. They're just so confident and so happy and they just want to I mean, you give them a box and they're thrilled with that. They just, everything that they do every day, all day long, every day, they just find so much joy in it, and seeing them happy and, walking into the kitchen and knowing that I can go into the pantry and make them food, and that, they don't need anything. They're not hungry. They're not starving. They're not unhappy. They're not struggling, that I can take the time and sit down and try to help them with their schoolwork or whatever. Or, we take a trip to Jamaica, whatever, all of that stuff, just the bonding and the happiness that we share for me is confidence beyond belief.
That's beautiful. I'm happy for them. That's the key. When the kids are happy and it
Hmm.
doesn't take a whole lot of fluff for them and they just find simple pleasantries, it's the most amazing feeling
Hmm.
as a parent to see
Hmm.
them smile, to breathe
Hmm.
freely. They're not hurting or, they're not scared or
Love
afraid of
it.
anything. I think that's the one of the best thrills in life. So even though going through challenges and circumstances has its degree of difficulty, there's also some highlights and some
Or even bigger, that they don't miss him too. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but just that piece, the fact that his absence is not a detriment to them, that
that's a
is
great
another
accomplishment
successful
in
marker
itself.
for me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because it could easily be the other
Yeah.
way. I definitely am happy about that. That's definitely a success story in itself. But even though, what we go through has its way of being daunting or heavy to carry, there's also actually some nuggets and some highlights that actually come along with it, whether we realize that while we're going through those things or not. So I wanted to go through something, say, like the gag is. So even though you got cancer, even though life dealt you, two different sides of life growing up, and you've gone through toxicity, because toxicity, to me, in my opinion, is a form of abuse as well. Whether you
Hmm.
physically have been dealt with someone or verbally or not, toxicity is definitely a different form of abuse that's just as hard to overcome. There's a gag in it. So if you want to share, like, the gag is, even though you went through XYZ, I still have this as a, not so much like a trophy or a medal or anything out of it, but this good nugget is what I pulled from it. You want to share?
I would say, I guess the gag is, you know, even though I went through all of this stuff that made me question, I guess, my confidence. The gag is that, like, I got it. I got the confidence that I was so busy ignoring or degrading, or, you
Right.
know, and I think I saw a meme recently that said, over independence is a trauma response.
Yeah.
And that was just like, whoa, you know,
That one.
not
Yeah.
having the ability to like ask for help and like depend on anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So the gag is that, you know, I'm overcoming that. Like, not only did I find the confidence, but, you know, I'm learning how to ask for help. I'm learning how to depend on someone else. I'm in spite of all of those things, I'm still able to build trust. I'm still
Yeah.
able to have a healthy relationship with all that's baggage.
Yep.
You can still do that. You can still do it, you know, as long as you're like, you don't have to have therapy, but you just have to acknowledge and try to grow and see things are, you know, as they are.
Yeah. What about you, Barb?
Um, I kicked cancer's butt.
You did.
Um,
Sure did.
despite of everything, despite of everything else that's been going on, I kicked cancer's butt, and I looked good doing it.
Did.
Um,
Beaten
All
off.
right now.
you know, I sure did. You know, I'm like, you know, when I had to shave my head, I was like, oh, how am I gonna look? I'm fine.
Yep.
It didn't. It made me stronger. It made me pull out things of myself that I didn't know I had for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I
Mhm.
have it for Josiah and Nia and Joseph, but it made me pull things out of me that I didn't know I could do for me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it didn't break me.
I'm so
It didn't
glad.
break me.
The gag is I'm stronger than I thought. Definitely. Well, we
Mhm.
can definitely go into some games if you don't mind. That we got. Are you ready to play some games?
Sure.
All right. So the first one I have, since Halloween was just yesterday, like a Halloween hangover over here. I have a ridiculous amount of candy in my house.
Mm.
If anyone wants me to send them some, feel free. I will send it today. Um,
FedEx it to me.
I can do that. I can do that. Um, I definitely wanted to carry over from Halloween and get you guys' opinion. So we're gonna play a game called One Gots to Go. So one of these gots to go. Whoppers,
You
candy
already know.
apples, candy corn, or milk duds.
Milk duds.
Can- Candy corn.
What? No.
You know candy corn got the
I
no one
love
eats
candy
candy
corn.
corn.
You know,
I do.
this one is a
I'm not
little tough.
I'm shocked.
Oh,
I love
this one is
candy
a little
corn.
tough for me because as much as I find, hmm, I want to say candy corn, but I don't like Whoppers either. I think Whoppers are gross.
Whoppers
It's
are
one
a
of
movie
as
candy.
a child I tried to
I like
tolerate,
Whopper.
but I just couldn't. Yeah, that's a Whopper for me. I have to be in a mood for candy corn. It's not horrible.
Milk dud.
It, I don't like how they're like
I
unevenly
love it.
distributed. Because sometimes you get a good box of Milk Duds and then you won't. It'd be like not enough chocolate or too much caramel. One got to go. Chicken edition. The thigh, the wing, the breast, or the leg.
Leg. No, 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 no,
Oh,
no, 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 no,
the
no.
the
If it's fried,
breast.
the breast.
Yeah, the breast.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. One got to go. If you
Bella,
had
go
to
away.
choose a toiletry, lotion, toothbrush, toilet paper, or a shower.
The shower curtain or the
Lotion. I'll
shower
be
itself?
ashy.
A shower. Like a shower. Like taking a shower.
Lotion.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
be ashy.
I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie about it. I was like, lotion or toilet paper, because I can wash my tail.
I mean, but you got to get in the shower every time you go to the bathroom.
Or you can use those spray bottles they send you home with after you have a baby.
Or you could just get a, what is it?
Oh, those things for
Bidet.
life.
Right?
Oh
Wet
God, I want
wipes.
one so bad. What are they called? Not wet wipes. The thing that they have in Europe that they
Bidet.
use.
Yes.
A bidet that they use
Oh,
in
a
every other
bidet.
country except
Yeah.
here.
Except here. Yep.
Yeah,
I saw we do it.
Yeah.
here.
We it's ridiculous, these dogs.
All right. Well, let's see. I have another game
No,
here, and
go
it's
somewhere.
called Remix the X.
Mm.
So at the beginning, before we started, I got some information from both my guests, Nyree and Barb, and I'm going to use that information. We're going to play a game called Remix the X. We're renaming our exes, one of mine included. But there's a twist. Barb, you're going to have to guess Nyree's ex or his new name, and Nyree, you're going to have to guess Barb's ex's new name. But I'm going to have on a mouthpiece. And you're going to have to the best of your ability, read my mouth or read my lips. So are you ready?
Okay.
I have a hard time concentrating when I see people wear these mouthpieces.
Barb, I'm gonna tell you Nyree's ex's name. Okay, so it's a combination of both of you ex's first initial, your panty color, and the last thing that you ate. So it'll be their initial, the color of your panties or underwear, and the last thing you ate. Okay, that's their whole name. So you're gonna have to guess Nyree's ex's name, Barb. Okay. R R
R.
Fergie Fergie
Burgundy.
Bacon
Do it again.
Bacon
Bacon.
R Fergie Bacon.
R. Burgundy bacon.
That's it.
Nyree, there you go.
Okay.
L Gray Shara.
L.
Gray
Gray
Shara.
salad.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm good at this game.
Oh my.
Okay. And M. Violet hot sauce. Croissant. Croissant. Is it crackers? Is it violet? Sounds like you're saying tassel. A violet. Violet. Is violet right? Okay, we got violet.
Pretzel.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's so bad. That was hilarious. That was fun. I'm glad you were game enough to play with me. So we've gone over your journeys. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm happy and elated that you have such a great support system. It means everything, not just for you, but I'm happy for you as well. So now that we have had our time together, it is time to check in and just share any carry out tips that you want to go over that you're taking away from today's get together. Is there anything that was a gem that you're taking with you today?
Get a mammogram.
That's right. That's right.
Yes,
immediately.
please.
Save your life. Barb?
Save the boobies. Um, Never lose confidence in myself.
Yes. The beautiful thing about it is both of you didn't allow those things to degrade your self-esteem even further.
Oh, right,
Just
right.
goodness
Because it can
gracious.
go either way. It could go either way. I see it go either way all the time.
So this is the part where
Hmm.
people actually realize that there is happiness on the other side, and now that you've gone through it, you can get to you get to share and teach others by the way you live that it is possible, and
Hmm.
there's still a great deal of life to live right after that. So I'm just thankful to have the both of you here. I'm glad I didn't cry. Yeah, I'm glad that things have not so much the sour things with that. Like I'm glad you had a hard life, but I'm glad that it's the past. It's not, your life. That's not where life ended for you. So I'm definitely grateful.
Right.
I'm so glad I got to introduce you to as well. If anyone wants
It
to
was
keep
great
in
meeting
touch,
you.
yeah.
Nice
If you guys
meeting
want to
you.
keep in touch, your social media handles are included with your name. So I want to thank you again, Barb, for sharing your story. You can find her on social media at BeLovers06. You can also catch Nyree on social media at Mostly a Mother. They are both amazing, amazing, loving, smart, quirky mothers. So you should definitely follow them. As well as me, you can also catch me on social media at Zakia Media House, or you can follow the show at Chip Chatter and Chill. I want to thank you guys again so much. Thank you so much for the memories and the lessons. Until next time, love yourself, stay safe, live in power, and then next time bring some friends to Chip Chatter and Chill. Take care.